So on the channel, we talk a lot about AI, the Trumpy stuff, the markets, and the economy. And today, there's a couple stories that all connect, and I want to share it with you. So this was the headline: AI is unmasking ICE officers. Can Washington do anything about it? And this is coming from Politico. My first reaction when I saw this, that's what I'm going with you, is like, wow, I hadn't even thought about people are going to be doing this. Basically, you have sort of these, you call them activists, or you want to call them hackers, or hackivists, however you want to say it. See the footage of the ICE people. They got their face is covered, right? They're wearing masks. They're running around basically arresting / kidnapping people. And we don't know who these people are. So I guess these days we have the technology to figure it out. And it's interesting because the I guess groups doing it. I wouldn't be surprised if there's more than one. They're in the Netherlands, and so not even in USA. And there's all sorts of moral implications with like everything that's going on in the world, and we're getting into these crazy, I'll put it this way, gray areas. That's a good way to put it, because we have this new technology that we're all still kind of wrestling with. Every day I see a new story, and even, for my mind, I'm just like, oh my God. And that's why I'm, sharing this stuff with you, just to, work this out together. And all this stuff is new. So this person, he's in the Netherlands. His name is Dominic Skinner, and I guess he's got identified 20 ICE officials so far who are wearing masks. And then this is a quote: able to reveal a face using AI if they have 35% or more of a face visible. It's very interesting. And it's funny because, just from movies, like you kind of know that technology is kind of going that way, right? I'm just talking about just for movies. Like, I don't know when the last time I saw a spy movie and they had this kind of thing where they try to, ID someone. They got these 3D camera kind of stuff, and they, figure out everything. And we've been using surveillance cameras for years, be it, in buildings or there's a robbery, et cetera, right? So that stuff's necessarily new. But the idea, though, that, people who, aren't necessarily like official, be it police, FBI, et cetera, and able to use this kind of technology. And now I guess we all can get it and have access to it. And then we can share it on, said social media. I mean, you're getting a whole, just a lot of issues going on. Because you could call this stuff, IDing these people, doxing these people, et cetera. And then you have a fight in Washington. So on the Republican side, they would say, no, you're doxing it. You can't really reveal the identities. People say on the Democrat side, would be say, we got to pass laws that say if you're going to go out and do ICE stuff, you can't be wearing masks. So there's a big fights here, right? And then you have people who are not even in USA, which aren't really under jurisdiction of any of this stuff, and it's like, hey, this is all publicly available, et cetera. I certainly think you're probably going too far if you start revealing addresses and these kind of things. But they were saying some things should be public. So I'll let you guys be the moral, judges of how you feel about this stuff. But I'm presenting these things to you because I'm interested in all of it, and I'm trying to work it out for myself. This is what they were saying also, though, because you got to be careful with any of these things that you put on social media when you do this stuff. It says Skinner acknowledged that the technology is flawed, okay? And he said that about 60% of the AI-generated results and facial recognition searches lead to wrong matches on social media profiles. So, so one, we have the technology, yes, but it may not necessarily work. And this is like, I guess it only works 40% of the time. Is how you would read that, read the opposite number. This is a quote here. I don't believe in public justice, okay, but I do believe in public shaming and public accountability. And again, this is where, how do we think about what to do with this technology? And then I'll read it more. Although Democrats are proposing legislation that would ban officers from wearing masks, and Republicans are introducing bills that would make it illegal to dox police, no legislation would limit public use of facial recognition, right? So then, because you could, make laws regulating, can we even use this software or not? There's so many implications with this one story, and I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on this one. My just personal opinion is I don't think the ICE people should be wearing masks, especially when you run around kidnapping / arresting people. So that's my point of view on that. The whole AI thing, so I don't, in my opinion, I don't think we should be, say, sharing addresses and stuff like that. But it goes back to, I don't think these guys are wearing masks. So, it's a slippery slope, and there's going to be different people who have different opinions on this stuff. I actually made a video about this topic just a couple days ago. Please watch it. It's regarding Melania Trump and a school initiative thing that they're proposing. But effectively, this technology is not going to go away. I mean, I think this stuff has been around for, a while. Just suddenly it just really exploded. And now we're all talking about maybe it's because the combination of popularity and maybe the AI compute or the chips that we have now a little bit faster, et cetera. And then the data that's available, and then you got combined with social media, which there's just photos of everyone everywhere, right? These days, it's all public. This is a different world. And regarding the AI stuff, the first thing I was thinking about when I was reading through these things today is there's an old joke where in the future a factory will only have two jobs. One will be for a person, another will be for the dog. The person's job is to feed the dog, and the dog's person is to make sure the person doesn't touch the machines. And I kind of think we're going in that direction, unfortunately, which, I think we all see it, but it is what it is. And this is an also related one. And I know we're talking about quite a bit this episode to get our head around it, and I'm still wrapping my head around this stuff on a daily basis. This was in the Wall Street Journal today. It says your boss doesn't have time to talk to you. And the basic idea of this one is we're eliminating managers at places. There's a fascinating chart here, which I knew this stuff was going on. I remember when Facebook announced that, I think they used the word flattening, where they're getting rid of the middle managers essentially. And so, this is a chart that shows, you see a decline of, say, staff, decline of execs, decline of managers, but managers are actually getting hit the most, right? And it also fits into, when you see a chart like this, sort of the Trumpy world, sort of if his, tax cuts that they want to do, benefits for the billions, et cetera, continue, because things can go back and forth, right? He's passing it now, or already passed it, but you never know what could happen after midterms, et cetera, right? Things can change with legislation. But the world that he wants to take, the U.S. and other countries already in that, is just basically a bigger divide between rich and poor, right? The kind of, diminishing of the middle class, which you could also, represents by, say, middle manager, these kind of things. And this article went on to say, talking about how, and I'll give you some numbers. It was really fascinating because, again, it all relates to many of these companies now are planning to replace people with AI technology. And say when you talk about, just the ability to identify people, by 35% of their face, yeah, that's certainly a job that a human couldn't do nearly as fast, right? We just couldn't. And so some jobs certainly will go that way, more automation essentially. So this was saying here, I'll read it. It says managers are overseeing more people as companies, large and small, gut layers of middle managers, right? So if you are still a manager, you're going to manage more people because there's just less managers, right? Bosses who survive the cuts now oversee roughly triple the people they did almost a decade ago. This is coming from Gartner saying that. There was one manager for every 5 employees in 2017. Okay. That median ratio increased to one manager for every 15 employees by 2023. And the trend keeps going that way, where multiple companies are essentially laying off, right, again, the middle manager. And for those of you, who work at a big company and have a lot of years there, I'd be curious if you, in your experience, have witnessed this trend, right? Are you managing more people than you did in the past? And does it just feel like your teams are bigger? And then comes along with that is you just don't know your employees quite as well because your teams are bigger, right? You can't. You have too many people to manage. And I was thinking about how that has ramifications for the way we relate to people. And here's a good example of it. This is also from the same article. They gave a chart here of the type of jobs that are, going down in the last 3 years. And I guess these days, the first people you cut is the HR people. You can see it right there. And it reminded me of the video that we talked about a couple of days ago with the school shooting. And I said, for those of you who, to say, hey, Chris, it's, it's not about the gun. It's about the person behind the gun. And I just say, sure, then let's hire counselors at work. Let's hire counselors at schools. Let's take care of people. But in this day and age, right, if we're making lots of cuts at works or whatever, different companies, I guess HR is one of the first to go. You can just see it in this particular chart. And it shows that we're kind of the way that we treat people these days. And I think you guys all know this as well. Is just it's a lot of dehumanizing of the workforce. And again, if you have these Trumpy kind of people who just don't care about workers at all, and I said that from the very beginning. Anyone who watched my channel talk about Trump or Musk, I always just say like, why would any regular person, support these people? Because they clearly don't care about workers, and their whole goal is to replace you, right? Replace workers with AI. That's sort of where we're going. And my wife and we did another video recently about AI. Just please watch these guys if you haven't already, because I think a lot of these conversations we're going to keep having, and I appreciate you having them together, because it's a lot to take in socially, these changes that happen so quickly. Another thing you could talk about was with this rise of work from home, is you just have less water cooler kind of time with your employees, or your coworkers, that's better to say it, because you guys know how it is. I don't want to commute. Do you want to commute, right? You're way more comfortable staying at home. You got the pajamas on, right? Don't even have to wear pants. You can just do your work in bed, literally, if you want, and type with the computer. You guys for work from home, you know what I'm saying? It's a waste of time to commute, you feel like. But we are moving into an environment where we're more isolated, more polarized, and I see it. Be it when we talk on YouTube, and for those in the USA, because sometimes people write in the comments, they say, "Oh, Chris, you have a different perspective because you're not in the USA. I'm American, but I just happen to live in Korea." But I always find it strange when I flip on American news, and they're always talking about left this, left right, red this, blue right, and it's like so polarized. And I see it in the polling data. I saw the recent poll that came out by Trump. I think his approval was like 37, disapproval like 55 or something. But then when you break it down by party, it was like 97% of Democrats don't like Trump, and then the other side it was like 93 of Republicans like Trump or something like that. It was this basically high 90s for both. It was just like a almost perfect split on the two parties. And one of the problems is we have is people don't relate to each other anymore. It's like people. And I think when you lose that, and you can go back to the stuff that I'm talking about, when you add in more AI, you lose, middle managers. So then you have too many people at work that you don't even really know as well as you used to. You now work from home, et cetera. Like you just keep getting further and further away from other human relationships, and you become more isolated. And, sometimes people ask, like, why do I talk the way that I do, et cetera? Well, one, check out my book. It's called Positive Angle. You can find a link down below. But I was professor for about 10 years. I actually did a lot of jobs, but professor was my longest running job. And I basically meet new people every semester. You teach a couple classes, you got 30 people, maybe sometimes 50, sometimes bigger, 200, and every semester you just got a new cohort of people that you meet every semester. And I was always exposed to all kinds of people. That was university. I was also in the Navy, if you guys don't know. I lived in multiple countries also as well, and I worked in the film industry, met lots of people all the time. And so for me, when I do YouTube, and I actually do read through all of your comments, I read through every single one of them, I always feel more connected to people. And when I see the headlines and I see how it connects to your lives, for example, someone was saying that they work in the tourism industry, and the tourism has been really down this year. And they're also saying that in the past they had a lot of foreign tourists, and great to meet foreign. And they list all the different countries that they come in, and it's great to meet people from around the world. And if you're listening, I hope you are. You understand that I appreciate that. I like to hear about your what's going on in your life. Or someone else was saying that they work in Vegas and things are really tough right now. Or another person was saying that their brother works in a bank, and the brother doesn't go downtown to go to the bank anymore, and now they all work at home. And it's very different when you see a headline on something, and then that people sort of in your community and in your realm of the people you communicate with regularly are affected. I mean, even for example, in the last school shooting, someone in our community said that they knew someone whose kid was missing, and I'm not sure if the why they're missing, like they couldn't answer the phone or something like that. But they were, because there was like, why is my coworker just not working and watching the news? Well, you'd be concerned too if you knew someone that was involved with that. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's very, very important to keep our humanity in all of these things. And you could go back to the beginning story with the ICE thing. If these people were more human and realized, these people that Trump has you out arresting and stuff like that are human beings just like you, and we're actually way more similar than are different. It would solve a lot of our problems. I know I'm oversimplifying things, but I really do believe this stuff because I think when you actually meet people, have lunch, dinner with people, actually talk to people, you're like, wow, we're not that different, and I was thinking about this too, and this is again all kind of AI related stories. This was I'll read it. It says Meta changes teen AI chatbot responses. As Senate begins probe into romantic conversations. So great. And this was related to the other story that my wife and I didn't even watch the other video, but basically ChatGPT is getting sued because there was I think it might have been a high school, but self-harm, right? And this was a similar one as well, as where the chatbot that I guess Facebook must have something now where they're worried that the AI, the robot or whatever is using too personal of language with kids. And then the kid sort of thinks it's like friend, right? And essentially because we're losing human relationships, as many things I talk about in this video, people are reaching out more and more to AI, can talk to you and stuff like that. And if you're in a vulnerable position where not a lot of people that you feel around you can identify with, you end up hanging out with AI more, which I completely understand. I understand this. There's a really good movie called Her with Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson. If you haven't seen that one, I highly recommend it. Just a very, very good script, and it kind of goes over this kind of stuff. But I think one of the things that's so important, again, is just maintaining human relationships. And one of the things that I always know is that when you guys tune in and we hang out together in a community, I know you're real people. And that's why I'll try to do live streams when I can and stuff like that. And that's why I try to read through everything, because I want to know what's going on with my fellow human beings, because again, we are more similar than not. So all of these issues, going on do concern me, and I'm just trying to make sense of it the same way you are. I appreciate everyone. I don't have the answers to all this stuff because it's really quite complicated, but hopefully as we get used to it and figure out how to work around it or work within it, I will do our best. And yes, I know the Trump world is terrible. I really know. But I think the Trump stuff, it won't be around here forever. The AI stuff, though, we're still working as a society and cultures around the world of how to deal with these things. So anyway, that's my thoughts. Please share yours, and I'll catch you on the next video.